Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. This is DJ and I'll be your host for this week, and I've got with me Varun. It's been a few weeks since I've been on the podcast. Varun missed the podcast last week as well, so I think we need to give a bit of a salute to Ashwin, who did the first ever solo episode in the history of Edges and Sledges. But we are back. It's week 6 of the IPL. And the two people that we picked to win the orange cap, Varun, have been dropped from their respective teams. Prithvi Shaw is out of the Delhi Capitals and Venki has been dropped by the KKR. So, first of all, we must pose the question. Are we even qualified to do this podcast?
I mean, it's a really tough one, DJ, because I don't know what to say. Prithvi Shaw and Venki are both openers, both logical picks, back in India, keen to make a statement, and they have been dropped. So I don't think we're qualified enough to do this. Like, we're just not able to predict. Who did Ashwin say it was?
Shreyas Iyer. So we both went for Ayers. He picked a slightly more successful Iyer than me.
Slightly, just slightly. I guess slightly is defined as somebody who's in the playing 11, right?
Yeah, and he's captain as well of KKR. So
Which I wouldn't be too proud about right now, but yeah.
Yeah, let's get into that. I mean, honestly, it's been 6 weeks since the IPL has been running now, right? And we're recording this on Sunday morning. The news has just come in that the Delhi Capitals CSK clash may be affected by COVID, as a number of members of the Delhi Capitals team have tested positive. So we'll see how that pans out. So, but honestly, it's been 6 weeks, and I don't know about you, but I feel a bit of fatigue in the middle stages of the IPL. It's like the middle stages of an ODI, right? Like the people are just knocking singles and rotating the strike, and nothing very exciting is happening. But the table is now in a place, Varun, where I think the Gujarat Titans are probably qualified mathematically. I think they're through. Um, but then the Lucknow Super Giants are after them. Rajasthan Royals won yesterday, so they are third. But Varun, what's going to happen with the rest of that team? We've got a number of teams clustering in that 4, 5, 6, 7 position. So just talk me through the table as it stands at the moment. And are you getting a bit more excited? You see this going back to the last ball of the last game of the group stage to find out who qualifies?
Yeah, you never know. That's the beauty of IPL. Obviously, this year it's a longer tournament, so there was bound to be some fatigue, and there were times when we organized a meetup, and I can't remember if I told everyone this already on the podcast, but we organized like a Saturday night boys' night to watch the IPL, and we were essentially sitting and watching somebody called Dayal bowling to somebody called Rinku Singh. Okay, there's like 8 guys sitting there. We're like, what the hell are we watching? Okay, and that's what the middle phase of this IPL felt like. But it is picking up again. The table, DJ, as you mentioned, it is very interesting. So I think it's almost fair to say the top two are Lucknow and Gujarat, who are the new teams, and they seem pretty comfortable sitting at 16 points.
But neither of
Remember,
them have qualified as yet, to be
yes,
clear, because they don't have the queue next to them. So
yeah.
mathematically, it's possible for them not to qualify, which would be
I
really
mean,
odd.
yeah, it's possible. So that's why it becomes very interesting, because when you look down at the table, Punjab is at number 7 on 10 points. Delhi is number 5 at 10 points, and RCB is in the top 4 at 12 points. So it, as always, it is lining up for a fantastic last, I would say, 7 to 10 days. The only thing we know for sure is that the Mumbai Indians have been eliminated. So I don't know if there's an NQ next to their name or what happens, but they have definitely been eliminated. CSK and KKR, it looks tough, man, to be honest. For them to pull it back from here, just to give you an example, KKR can maximum get to 14 points, and that too, a lot of other things need to go in their favor for them to be in a situation where then it comes down to net run rate. So it's going to be an interesting table. I think RR, RCB, DC, and Sunrisers are going to have a fight for the third and fourth spot.
Very interesting. And yeah, we'll see how that pans out. Of course, Delhi Capitals sitting at 5 because of that one game where they absolutely smashed the net run rate because they were chasing a small total, and Warner and Prithvi Shaw went a bit nuts at the start.
Yeah,
But
and also Delhi has lost close games. Like, I think
yeah, I
when
mean,
they've lost, they've been pretty poor. Like, I think it's upset all of us. But to chase 200 120 and still get close to 200 is not bad for net run rate.
Yeah, it's been, but yeah, I guess that's the silver lining. Where most fans would be like, we lost by 7 runs. Why haven't we managed to get across the line? But in the final analysis, you're like, okay, we had that one big win, but we've had lots of small wins. So interesting way of looking at that, Varun. I like your optimism, particularly since I believe you are now down with COVID, and yeah, I see the dedication in the Garg brothers has really like upped in the
Yeah.
last few weeks, because I haven't
I
been
mean,
here
we're
for
not
3 weeks.
we're not used to you not being around, man.
Yeah,
So we
you've
had
had
to
to
pick
up
up,
your game.
yeah, up the ante.
Yeah, I hope you get well soon, man. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully it's just a passing.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fatigue, and it you're just in isolation, man. It's like one of those things where it's the only illness, if that's the right word, where you're just stuck to yourself in a room. So either way, I was stuck for the last 72 hours. There have been 5 matches in that time. It has not been all that bad because food is being delivered to my room door. As and when I want it. There's 8 to 9 hours of cricket every day. There's some tennis going on. So I can't complain, but yes, I'm ready to get out in a couple of days.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get into the cricket, man. I know you've been watching all the documentaries about basketball and stuff, but we are an Indian cricket podcast and we talk Indian cricket. So let's start where Ashwin left off. Rajasthan Royals versus the KKR. This was, and you briefly mentioned this man on the show already. This was the Rinku Singh show, this game. And there has been on Twitter a trend. There's a whole bunch of people on Twitter who call themselves Rinkurians. They're Rinku Singh fans, and they've been like that for a long time. But Rinku Singh has finally got his chance. He's a rags to riches story. He's 24-year-old from Uttar Pradesh, and left-hander. Man, what a game this guy had. Let's just talk through this game. RR had a bit of a weird innings, I think, when they came out. Josh Butler again, 22 of 25. Sanju Samson, 54 of 49. So nobody really like got going at speed. So they ended with 152 for 5. Baba Indrajit, who's, by the way, Baba Aparajit's twin brother, which is what we found out, played his
Yeah.
first game of the IPL. So that was good knowledge for us. But this was really the Nitish Rana and Rinku Singh show. So talk me through this innings of 42 of 23 by Rinku Singh. Plus, earlier on, he took a lot of catches. So he loves his fielding. Are we seeing a new IPL sensation being born?
It's a bit early to say that because I feel like we're saying that about everyone and everything that's happening new in the IPL. So I'm going to refrain from saying that. But I think, yeah, I had no idea he had a Twitter following, but good for him. I think he's been kind of in the setup for a while. He has played before, but as I recall, we've all kind of just made fun to say, who's this guy just coming in? That's how bad the KKR bench strength is and stuff. But hey, he's coming in place of Venkatesh Iyer, who some people on this podcast thought would score the highest number of runs in the IPL tournament. So kudos to him. McCullum actually came out and said Rinku Singh is a large part of creating the culture at KKR, which I was really shocked and surprised by. So that's the beauty of the IPL. You've got these guys in the dressing room. You've got these guys who want to come out and show what they're worth, but at the same time use this as an opportunity to learn, kind of immerse themselves in with the foreign players, the senior Indian players. So great for him, man. I personally didn't watch this innings, but chasing 152, I think, Rinku Singh going at a strike rate of over 180 kind of just provided KKR that stability that, yeah, we got this in the bag because KKR have not had a good tournament so far. So kudos to them. And actually, it's because of this game, you'll see the table kind of opened up a little because a lot of people would have just expected RR to blow them out of the water.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's another rags to riches story on the IPL, right? And we hear so many of them. And his dad was a gas cylinder delivery man, and like his life pretty much changed with the IPL contract. I think he got 80 lakhs in one of the auctions, and I mean that was more money than his family had ever seen. And he had a knee injury, but it's really nice to see these guys come back from it. And of course, like, it's easy to poke fun at people on Twitter and like talk about them, but I mean these guys work really hard. And you talked about the culture of KKR, and like obviously Rinku Singh, you can see him enjoying being out there on the field. He's got,
Yeah.
and I don't want to say it like, but he's got that early Virat kind of infectious enthusiasm almost without the expletives.
Yeah, he's interesting. He's taken many catches for Dre Russ, and I think Dre Russ said he's gonna have to buy him dinner because he doesn't have a drink and stuff. So yeah, he's always on the field. Every time the ball is up in the air, you see Rinku Singh below it. You're right, man. Like kudos to him.
So that was the Rinku Singh show. The next game that we are going to talk about was the 3rd of May. Gujarat Titans played the Punjab Kings. And at this point, the Gujarat Titans were top of the table. They are no longer top of the table because Lucknow Super Giants have a better net run rate. But Punjab Kings, who have had a sort of. When we talked about their squads, we thought that they were pretty well balanced. They had a lot of bases covered, and they've sort of flattered to deceive almost. Because I mean, you've had flashes of brilliance by people like Liam Livingstone, but then that's been counterbalanced by them losing kind of close games or allowing 200 plus totals to be chased down. But for the first time this season, the ex-Delhi Capitals spearhead Kagiso Rabada really came to the party here, man. And I mean, this was a really interesting game because for once the quicks really dominated here. So let's just talk through the scorecard. Gujarat Titans got 143 for 8, in which Kagiso Rabada took 4 for 33. Arshdeep Singh took a wicket. Rishi Dhawan. What is up with Rishi Dhawan's face mask, though? I believe he's been hit in the face while playing.
Yeah,
The
I think so.
Hannibal Lecter mask.
Yeah, I think he's probably protecting his nose is what I read, that he's either had some surgery or something happened to his nose, and so he's trying to protect that. But it looks really weird because you see if Rishi Dhawan is bowling and then Bruce Oxenford is umpiring, you kind of feel like you're watching some sort of a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Something is
All you
going to
need is
happen.
Anil Kumble to come in and wear his chest guard on his
Yeah.
back.
I
why
mean,
did
yeah,
why did Kumble wear his
he
chest guard on his back?
because he learned from Dada, right?
Ah.
Shoaib Akhtar got hit Dada on the side of his back. Dada called for a chest guard and then wore it on his back. And he's facing Shoaib Akhtar. So, yeah.
Insane. Incidentally, of course, Anil Kumble is the Punjab Kings coach, right? So maybe he's going to introduce that into that training curriculum. But anyway, this was interesting, and I say that Quicks dominated because a really good spell, which would probably not get a mention, was Sandeep Sharma, 4 overs for 17, right? Of course, Rabada took all the wickets, but bowling 4 overs for 17 is a really impressive performance in the circumstances. And then, of course, Shikidi. Opening the batting with Johnny Bairstow.
Yes, so we have to talk about that, right? What is your view in a game chasing 143? Punjab is looking to first secure the 2 points, secondly, try to get the net run rate. Their captain, a specialist opener, did not bat in this game, and 4 people batted in this game. What is going on? Because we will discuss it in a couple of games from now, but the same thing happened again. Mayank Agarwal did not open. He did not come one down. What's happening, DJ?
Interesting, man. It's an interesting question because I think Mayank is lacking a bit of confidence right now. He hasn't got the big scores that you were seeing him get in the previous seasons. I mean, like when he was opening with KL Rahul, they would alternate getting like 50s and 100s, right? So he hasn't got that, but it takes a self-aware captain to say, you know what, we've got one of the world's best white ball players in our team. Why are we not giving? And Johnny Bairstow likes to opens for England, so why not give him a shot? And you saw it came off. I mean, it didn't come off with Bairstow, but it came off with Livingston, who came in and just absolutely thrashed it. He's got 30 of 10, and man, see, I'm a really big fan of Liam Livingston because the sixes he hits, they're not like small sixes or edge sixes. They are clean and they are like 100 and something meter sixes.
He's hit the
consistently.
longest 6 of the IPL, which is I think 117 meters.
Wow. So
Which immediately 2 days after that, Chris Gale says, "I'm coming back to the IPL."
yeah, and
Not related to
I'll play for
yeah.
Punjab or RCB.
Yeah.
What a guy. You have to love him. But like Livingston is a bit like the batting version of Umran Malik. Everything is full on. It's like there's no half measures. There's no like slower stuff. It's like fast, big hit, big hit, big hit. So I really like that. I mean, as I said, I don't mind Mayank doing that. You've got to be flexible with the batting order. And one of the things that the Punjab Kings in the past have suffered from has been that inflexibility. They've always played these 5 bowlers, and if one of them goes for runs, they've lost. So I'm okay with that. Plus, I mean, their wicketkeeper has been a revelation as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, well done to Rabada. So one of the few losses by the Gujarat Titans at that stage. Then came this game between RCB and CSK, which I think some people like to call the Kaveri Derby. Controversial. I don't know. Some people call it that.
I've heard it before. Not, I haven't heard it this time, but I've heard it before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's obviously the dispute for the waters between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. But it seems a little bit controversial. But this game, RCB get 173 for 8. And I saw, I mean, of course, Kohli got 30 of 33. This was really the DK and the a bit of Faf, a bit of DK, Mahipal Lomror. So I think this falls within the Rinku Singh category. I think these are people you see on the fantasy uncapped filter, and then you're like, who are these guys? And I mean, this guy's come out
But
and scored
they've
42
all
of 27.
but they've all played these 1 or 2 games in the last 2-3 years. Like I remember he played for Rajasthan, if I'm not mistaken. And even when he played then, I was like, this guy's not bad, right? So yeah, that's what happens, right? When you expand the number of teams, but still Lomror and Rinku Singh don't make it to the playing 11. It's odd, but I guess it's a long tournament. You will see a lot of these guys.
Yeah, so this guy's come and scored 42 of 27. But I don't know whether you guys spoke about this previously, but there was chat about Kohli taking rest, and like he's looked so incredibly scratchy this IPL. And I saw a great meme because he got 50 in the previous game, I think just before this, and it was like the other guy had scored 50 in 20 balls, and Kohli had scored 54 in 49 balls, and they were both sitting there. The meme is like two people are sitting there, and one person is got nothing in front of them. Everyone's got all the other mics in front of him. So that was Kohli for his run a ball 50, and the other guy who'd got 50 was just like sat there getting nothing. But
it's hard to see somebody struggle so badly. I think that's what is
and him
difficult.
being bowled by Ali in what was a repeat of one of those dismissals. I think he had one in a test match against who's that off spinner that England had in that last test series?
I can't.
That's how unremarkable that off spinner is. I don't think he even plays anymore for England. But it was
Dom Bess? No.
Dom Bess? Yeah, Dom Bess. Yeah. Good memory.
Not bad. Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, it was one of those dismissals. It was I mean, I don't know whether the Kohli special came out where he was like, how is this ball bowled me? Because I don't think even he's surprised anymore about getting bowled by an off spinner through the gate.
I mean, yeah, since you mentioned Kohli, it's worth just talking about a little bit, which is that I think it's becoming incredibly clear that he has no place in the T20 squad. People have talked about taking a break. Now, are you saying Kohli is not good enough to play for an IPL franchise? Absolutely not. He is good enough to play. But, I was having this debate yesterday when you've got people like Sanju Samson, who frankly play a bit of idiotic cricket at times, but are still giving you 25 of 9 balls. You could argue that's adding a lot more value than somebody who's providing 50 or 49. And so that's where this whole debate is now going to happen after the IPL as to who, how, when, where talks to Kohli and tells him he's not getting on that flight to Australia. It's not going to be easy. I don't know if it's possible, but he's just not up for the T20 as of now. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope everything happens and people come back and listen to this episode and say you guys are totally not qualified. Hey, guess what? We said that at the start of the show. but I don't think there's a place for him.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a counter question to that as well. Is there a place for Rohit? Because
Rohit
his whole captaincy aura was built around MI winning 5 times and being the greatest T20 captain in the history of T20 cricket because they won the greatest tournament 5 times.
Let's give him the credit. He has won it 5 times. Before you even finish your question.
But the hatred for Kohli's captaincy was because of RCB, no ICC trophy, etc. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
But he's won it 5 times. It's a new team, it's a new franchise, all that jazz. Kohli gave it up too fast. There was too much politics. BCCI had to come out and announce somebody. You're not going to now reverse this decision. You don't want to go into a World Cup with Rinku Singh and Mahipal Lamrors of the world without a captain like Rohit Sharma. There's too many things. I don't think either of them should be playing. But Rohit Sharma is going to be captain in Australia.
So the question then arises: are we going in the CSK direction of a non-playing captain, just for the aura of captaincy? And of course, it's been how many minutes has it been since we've spoken about MS Dhoni?
It's been quite a while, man.
Ridiculous.
I I don't know. I don't know how to answer the non-playing
Is
captain.
Rohit the best T20 opener that India has? That is the question I'm asking you.
No, he's not. He is not. Is Rohit the best leader we have? I think so.
Possibly.
So
But
I
then
think that's
what weight do you give to either of those?
no. So I think you have to give weight to a leader in a world tournament, right? I think there's no doubt about that. But I think if you ask me between Rohit and Kohli, they're both looking very average right now, right?
Yeah, but then
But
what if KL Rahul wins the IPL this time? Then
yeah,
what
but
happens?
he's lost enough. I mean, I know you're poking me a little bit, but I know he's lost enough to not overturn it in one shot. And anyway, DJ, let's talk reality. Rohit Sharma is the captain at the World Cup. The question is, Virat Kohli, does he make it or not?
Yeah, you've
And
brought me back crashing to reality.
And we'll at the end of the IPL, guys, we'll do a full kind of preview of T20 India, right, based on the IPL, because we probably got 8-10 matches more. So the squads you're going to see are the squads is pretty much an indication of the squad that's going to be there for the World Cup.
Chalo bhai, at least the YouTube comments will be full of abuse for us. It's okay. Either way, we'll get abuse. It's fine. Anyway, so this chase that we were talking about, 173 for 8, CSK fell short. 160 for 8 is what they got. This was the first game in the MS Dhoni reboot that CSK lost, which was interesting. So, yeah, I mean, MS Dhoni had been undefeated since last year's IPL, if you think about it as captain, because of, yeah. So they lost this game. The Kaveri derby fell in favor of RCB, and RCB fans would have been extremely happy about that. I think we should take a bit of a break, and we should then come back and talk about the remaining matches, because there's some very nice matches that we need to talk about, particularly DC versus Sunrisers, because that's been a particular bone of contention, I think, on this podcast. So we will take a short break, and we'll be back straight after that. You're listening to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Says Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Naveen, Antriksh and myself talk about staff at Twitter panicking after Elon Musk's takeover and Rahul Gandhi partying at a Kathmandu nightclub. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik talks to Hemant Soreng and Rajesh Nair, founders of Rustic Travel. It's an ice cream, you scream kind of day at Simplified. The hosts have a fun chat about all things ice cream. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk analyze 73 years of China's PLA Navy. And on the Life Manifesto, Zarina shares an important lesson about friendship with the story of Genghis Khan and his falcon. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're following this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth is one of our biggest, most helpful things you could do for us. We'd really appreciate that. And also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. Go check out ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. You get a list of all of our YouTube channels there. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and the advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It's at ivmpodcast.com/survey. This really helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this week, SBI Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and Jupiter, a digital banking app.
Welcome back from that break, and you're still listening to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast, and we are here about to talk about DC versus SRH. Varun, this was a clash that was going to kind of determine whether Delhi stayed in contention. We'd obviously said we'd written off the Sunrisers Hyderabad right at the start. I think there was one show where I tactically kept quiet while Ashwin gloated about Sunrisers Hyderabad losing their first two games. Luckily, I think I was hosting that show.
I called them a boring team. Then I made a public apology about it.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like that talent, like Umran Malik has burst on. He's exciting. They've got patches of excitement.
I mean, dude, when you think about it, right? Abhishek Sharma and Tripathi were always going to be hit or miss, right? They've done decently well. Makram and Puran are good players, but in Punjab just never kind of made enough. So now, with the power of hindsight, 10 games in, when I look at their lineup, actually it's pretty solid. And who would have thought that Kane Williamson is going to be the weakest player in this squad, right? Talk about non-playing captains, but but yeah, Kane Williamson is the weakest player in their squad right now. That says a lot about Sunrisers.
And to talk about a non-playing captain, ex-SRH, David Warner, 92 not out against his old franchise. What do you think he was thinking in his head when he got that 92 not out? Tell me what went on in David Warner's head once he'd scored those runs. And
I mean, look, the thing is, David Warner's is orange blood, right? Like, even if you look at his Insta and stuff, everything he does just appeals to people from Hyderabad. That's how much he loved the city, the franchise. When you saw him play, you knew that he was trying to put a message across. And then when you saw him take pictures with his bro, Kane Williamson, at the end of the match, you realize this is pretty much very clearly for Tom Moody. And so a lot of shit happened in that last season. I still don't know exactly what it was, but David Warner was left at the hotel. He was seen not at the ground.
He was not brought to the ground in the bus.
Yeah, and then when he was brought to the ground, he was taking drinks out. Now, in the middle of all this, Virender Sehwag has come out and said that when he used to play for Delhi in 2012, he used to party too much, fight with people, and we sent him off home 3 games earlier than the season. I can't remember any of this, but I don't know, man.
But he was younger. He's like a decade younger.
Exactly.
Man.
He's punched like Joe Root. He's had a fight with Quinton de Kock on the
stairs. He's scratched the ball. He's done sandpapered the ball and stuff.
So he's
basically
done
a villain.
Yeah, he's a villain.
Today he was a hero.
But today he's our villain. Like, he's our villain. Like our Ashwin.
Who's also no longer our Ashwin if you're a Delhi fan. He's everyone's Ashwin. How many franchises he played for?
I don't know. Less than Finch, though, for sure. But before, so very quickly, right? Warner's 92 was great. The other guy that was great was Rovman Powell. Between the two of them, you were like, we have not seen this kind of hitting in Delhi for a long time. 67 of 35, almost a 200 strike rate, 92 of 58. At that last over, Rovman Powell goes up to David Warner at the start and says, should I take a single to get so that you can get your 100? And Warner said, that's not how the game is played, mate. Go big. And boy, Rovman Powell went big. They got 207. And Rovman Powell has been batting at every position in this IPL, right? There's been talk that he cannot play spin bowling. And so Delhi have just pushed him down and down and down the order. But he apparently, before this game, had a chat with Rishabh Pant, where he told Rishabh Pant, you got to let me bat at 5. Just trust me. I will do it. Give me 15 balls to play the way that I want. And then I will play the way that everyone wants. And hey, he delivered in that first game. So again, not getting ahead of myself, but I had always said if Powell can peak at the right time for Delhi, it will make all the difference. So let's hope that's what's happening.
And
in the meantime,
credit to our boy Pant.
Yeah, credit to Pant. And he also looked good, man. 3 sixes. Those were fantastic.
One fallen down 6 as
well. All fallen down 6s. But the big question to ask is, why did Shaw not play this game? I don't know if it's an injury. I don't know if it's Ponting just giving him a kick on his bum.
Too much cough syrup.
Yeah, too much cough syrup. I don't know what it is, but Shaw didn't play. Delhi made 4 changes. Nokia was back and celebrated big time when he got his first wicket. And then last thing to call out, sorry guys, it's not been very structured. You can tell Ashwin is not on this show. But when Makram and Puran were playing, it kind of looked like this was that Brabourne pitch that everyone spoke about, which has nothing in it and it's just 6s for the taking. But somehow Delhi managed to hold on. And like I said, when you lose by 5 runs, but then you win by 21, all of these things make a difference to NRR. So overall, fantastic performance. But I do have to say, I was a little bit scared in the middle.
You guys were panicking for no reason, but at one point.
Man, the thing with these kind of pitches and grounds, you especially with Dew, you really can't tell because you're basically talking about two big hits, right? Two big hits and a few singles, and the game has changed. So it yeah, I think being Delhi fans for the last 13 years, we had enough reason to worry and panic.
Fair enough. By the way, speaking of the Ravon and Wankhede, I'm going to be in Mumbai next week and hopefully watching the Lucknow Super Giants play the RR on Sunday, and then I think MI plays Hyderabad on Tuesday.
Oh, dude, LSG versus RR is definitely a 2x game, especially in Wankhede.
Yeah, so that's
That'll be fun.
I'll be there for that. So that should be great fun.
Awesome.
Let's see. I'll try and do some Insta live and stuff from that's going to be an incredible atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure.
I think
It'll
so.
be awesome.
Yeah, hopefully that
I mean,
works out.
Butler and Rahul, the two top scorers in the league so far, that'll be game on.
Yep. Anyway, speaking of which, Delhi Capitals won that game by 21 runs to keep their playoff hopes alive, which was great for us. Let's talk about this Mumbai Indians versus Gujarat Titans. Now, even then, Gujarat Titans was doing really well. They were top of the table. Mumbai Indians were still bottom of the table, having won a single game at that point, right? And even this game, Gujarat Titans have fallen short by 5 runs, but they were only 5 wickets down. And it was a really, really weird game because it looked like they were completely cruising that chase. And then there was that over from Bumrah. And then an over from Daniel Sands. So, Varun, what happened in this game? I mean, it's probably a game you should talk about because it was Tim David that was man of the match in this game. So, your fellow Singaporean citizen, maybe you can tell us what happened in this game.
Yeah, so firstly, a lot of determination by the openers. I think both of them, Kishan and Rohit, really had to apply themselves, put their mind to it, and show the world that, I mean, this is it's just a bad patch that we're going through. Remember, this could be the potential opening pair for the World Cup. I don't think anymore, but that's what a lot of people were talking about. So kudos to them for playing well, both getting into their 40s. And then after that kind of peak, the whole game just slowed down. Sky and Tilak Verma and Pollard. Pollard, by the way, who's averaging his lowest ever, and a lot of people are saying this could be his last season. Just kind of put the brakes to it. And then came out Tim David, like you mentioned, right? 44 of 21, missed a lot of deliveries actually, trying to hit the big one for 6, but fits into that typical kind of number 7 mold where it's like the ball needs to be a 6 or I don't move for it. And he pretty much did that. Got them to 177. At one point, you thought that was short because they should have been at 190. Pretty sure Mumbai Indians were dejected as they walked out. But yeah, I think the challenge for me is that even though Saha and Gill went at about 140 on average, that required run rate didn't come down. It always was hovering around that 9 mark. And then when your middle order does not click, which has not happened often for Gujarat, I think there's just too much pressure in the end. Also, remember, guys, you can have 2 good chases, 3 good chases, but it's not always going to come off. And so a lot of people said Mumbai actually snatched this out of Gujarat's hands, which I think is a fair point. And this is how the IPL table works, right? That 5 runs made a difference because now Gujarat is not number 1 on the table. And if things don't go according to plan and they end up at 3, they're going to feel really upset because that means an extra game in the playoffs. So I don't think that playoff spot is in doubt, but this is where Ashwin and I had said that a Mumbai and a Chennai could really come to spoil the party.
They would, and a Mumbai and a Chennai in previous years would have made sure that they won these games to get to those 1 and 2 spots. But how good was that last over from Daniel Sams? I mean, we've ripped into the guy on this podcast because, I mean, let's be honest, he was a Delhi Capitals guy and there was no reason for him to play the games that he played for us. There was that obvious Australian all-rounder bias that our Ricky Ponting has as coach. But needing 9 of 6 after Bumrah is gone for 6. Like Miller's hit Bumrah for 6.
And this guy has gone for like 800 in his last few 19th and 20th overs.
Yeah. 9 of 6 and to win the game by 5 runs. Are we seeing a resurgence of Daniel Sams? Is this what Ricky Ponting saw in him when he played him in that playoff game against Mumbai, incidentally?
I'm not sure, man, because as I look at it, I don't think he picked up a wicket. So it was definitely good bowling. But there was a post-match interview that Tim David did with Daniel Sams, and Tim David was like, man, when we saw that last delivery to Miller, it was a full toss and Miller just missed it. Now, it was a slower full toss. So I give Sam some credit. He's probably worked on that and it came off in crunch time. But still, man, a full toss is you back the batsman to hit it. So I don't know. I think he bowled well. We should always give credit to players when they do something that the team wins a game with. But I don't think we should go as far as saying a resurgence of Daniel Sams.
Fair enough. Moving on to the next game. Punjab Kings played the Rajasthan Royals. Got to 189 for 5. Owing to Johnny Bairstow 50. Jitesh Sharma, who we spoke about briefly earlier, got 38. Liam Livingston hit some big sixes again and then exposed his stumps and got bowled by Prasad Krishna, which was pretty funny actually. But 189 for 5 seemed like a pretty good score. It was at the Wankhede though. We haven't seen that big scores at the Wankhede this season, but it's usually a pretty good batting track. Yashasvi Jaiswal, who has one of the talents of the Under-19 World Cup, who was retained by the Rajasthan Royals actually, which was an interesting move by them. He's actually paid off, got 68 of 41. Butler got 30 of 16. This was a game where everyone seemed to contribute a little bit. Sanju Samson got 23 of 12. Padikkal got a run a ball 30. But Hetmeyer, man, that guy, he's had his fitness troubles for the West Indies, but dude, he's becoming one of the finishers of the IPL. He did it for Delhi Capitals last couple of seasons, and like he's doing it for fun now for the Rajasthan Royals. So
yeah, he's like Rovman Powell, owning a particular slot, has no competition for that slot because everyone wants to be an opener, and then just making it your own. But I think the difference in this, like we spoke about the last game, Gujarat Titans, every player up to number 5 or 6 got double digit figures. Okay. Every player in the Rajasthan Royals got double digit figures. So it wasn't that difference. Here's where the difference is. The strike rates for Rajasthan Royals, 166, 188, 192, 96, 194.
Yeah.
So
it's
now
short, sharp,
they still won with only 2 balls to spare.
Yeah.
But just you're talking about 2 contrasting games. One team lost by 5 runs in the 20th after the 6 balls were bowled. Here, a team has won by just 2 balls. So you can argue saying it's not like it was their game from the start, but they just kept going for it. And that's where strike rate makes such a difference.
Yeah, and it's almost like you're better off getting 20 of 8 than getting 50 of 40 balls.
Yeah. And that's what my friend was telling me yesterday, Pod. He's actually been on this podcast before. He basically said that isn't this more valuable than Kohli's 54 or 49? And I was a little bit upset then because I like Sanju Samson and I just feel like he keeps throwing away his wicket. So I was a bit emotional and I was like, he's an idiot. Why does he keep doing this and all? But yeah, in hindsight, you think about it, actually 22 of 8 balls is way more valuable than 50 or 49.
100%. In the T20 game, and this has all been driven by data science, right? And data and figures and numbers and statistics. So yeah. Okay. Last game of the show that we're going to cover, LSG versus KKR. You must have enjoyed this because KKR has lost this by 75 runs and it was a sticky wicket apparently according to KL Rahul, who didn't even get any runs in this game. I mean, KL Rahul was run out without facing a ball.
2 golden ducks, 1 diamond duck.
But without facing a ball. So everybody died in IPL fantasy at that exact point where those stumps were broken by...
But it makes no difference in IPL fantasy. That's the idiotic thing now about Butler and Rahul.
Yeah, because everyone is now just...
So then you're like, captain. All right, who's my vice captain? And I think a few people had Baba Indrajit or something. Vice captain.
No, but Ashwin would have had like Jason Holder or someone because he loves all these off piece picks. But we'll come to fantasy. I'm going to let you do the fantasy update because I think you may have done a bit better this week than last week. So anyway, this is going to be a quick one. Quinton de Kock smashed everything for on the leg side. Got 50 of 29 balls, pretty good innings. Again, fast innings. Deepak Hooda batting 341 of 27. Nice. He's actually, I think he's an outside contender for that slot going to Australia. I genuinely think that his batting has come on. He's played for India before. He can bowl off spin, big grounds. I suspect we're looking at him quite seriously as an option at this point, and he's done himself no harm this IPL by batting pretty well, even in tough conditions. I think they were 3 down once, and he came in and got 50 and helped them win the game. Avesh Khan, 3 for 19, LSG. He came back in this game because I think he was injured before. But yeah, great little bowling performance by him. He was my vice captain in this game, so I was pretty pleased by that. Jason Holder, who probably was Ashwin's captain, also took 3 wickets in this game. But what happened to KKR, man? Like, Baba Indrajit duck, Aaron Finch 14 of 14, Shreyas Iyer 6, Rana 2, Rinku got 6, Andre Russell. I mean, this is the anomaly with Andre Russell, right? Comes out 45 of 19 in that scorecard. He scored 45 out of 101. I mean, if you're Andre Russell, and I think a few seasons before he was also pissed off the way he was batting. Like, he wanted to bat up the order, and he had a little bit of words with
DK
about this and stuff. But like, I mean, is it time for Russell to go elsewhere? Oh, your KKR friends are going to be upset.
No, it's not. It's just they've not done badly, man. Like overall, they reached the finals last year, but generally, I don't know, man. It's the same thing. Like that's why when we made fun of Gale, right? What has Gale done in the IPL? Like from a trophy perspective, nothing. Or arguably, IPL's best player, not even just batsman, right? Best player doesn't have a trophy to show
Player
for
in
it.
the widest sense of the term.
Yeah, exactly.
If you see his Insta stories, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I don't think it's time for Russell to move on, but there's just no balance, man. You send him at 3, he'll get out early, the team struggles after that. You send him at 7, oh, it's too late, he played a great innings. You just got to give him enough balls. I think that's all.
Okay, then, and that is all the games that we were talking about. The team standings as they currently stand: Lucknow Super Giants, top of the table. Guess who said that they are going to make the playoffs? Gujarat Titans, which I'm pretty sure nobody said is going to make the playoffs, sitting at number 2. But I suspect there's some data backing this. It can't be a fluke that a private equity fund owns the Gujarat Titans, right? Those guys don't make investments that are like, they don't make bad investments.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but you're right. Nobody gave Gujarat a shot at the start of this.
At all. And
Yeah.
They picked 2 players, paid them 15 crores each, Rashid Khan and Hardik Pandya, and then they had almost nothing to build the rest of the team. They got Tewatia, and we were like, what are they doing? But clearly, CVC knows more than anybody else.
I mean, they probably got the best analysts around, but no, when
They
you
just
think about
retooled
it,
them from equity to cricket, but okay.
yeah, when you think of Lockie Ferguson, Shami, and Rashid, it's not that bad. When you think of Miller and Tewatia, it's not that bad, but it's not
like, dude,
great.
these guys,
It's yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not great.
Insanity. Rajasthan Royals, we thought, again, a team that all 3 of us, I think, tipped to qualify, sitting at number 3. And then there's the lottery, right? Like RCB, DC, SRH, Punjab Kings. I think Punjab still have a chance of making it. I think the real fight right now is between RCB, DC, and SRH. And every game is going to count for these teams. And I think DC is pretty well placed. If Delhi Capitals were to win their next game, they would go into the qualification zone because of the higher net run rate. But it is now down to the business end of the IPL. We've sat through 6 weeks. In an equivalent ODI game, I think we are now in the 38, 39 over mark. The slog overs are yet to start, but it's going to get super, super exciting. And we are going to be here covering all of that. We'll make sure that there's more than one of us on the show going forward as well. But Varun, The other thing we do during this IPL season is we give a fantasy tip and we give a fantasy update. So why don't you do a fantasy update and then we'll get a fantasy tip from you, which we are both clearly qualified to give as well.
Right. So fantasy needed ask me to do it because he's obviously doing well. But in our edges and sledges fan league, number one has crossed 19,000 points, wicked sensation. And I was just looking at their team, still 29 subs left. So I think extremely well done. Probably has all the boosters left as well. Infamous, I can't really say the full name here. So they are number two on this league. DJ is number
You can
4.
say it. We'll just bleep it out.
No, I can't. I don't even know what it is actually. DJ is at number 4, and he will want me to
I'm
say
at
that
number
he's
4.
in the edges and sledges.
Oh yeah,
and
because Avesh took all those wickets.
yeah, and you've not had VPN access throughout. So
Oh man, seriously, guys.
yeah.
This IPL fantasy needs to sort out. We sorted out their metas, by the way, because they noticed that we'd tweeted to them saying, "Let play fantasy." So those metas are now all sorted out. If you go and search for IPL fantasy, the title is now fixed.
Oh, not bad. Okay,
Yeah, so
that's
sorry,
good.
I was looking for typos. Clearly, the legal work I do has affected my IPL fantasy game as well.
Yeah, but and so Ashwin is
So I'm
27.
at number 5, 4.
Number 4, yeah.
Nice.
So you're at 4. Ashwin's at 27. I'm at 40. But yeah, Ashwin's used his boosters. I think DJ and I still have all 3 left, right?
It's
So I
coming
think
up.
that's going to be a.
I think you may have let slip when you're going to use your booster. So
Yeah, I did. I'm like, why did I say that? Yeah, but hopefully you'll be distracted somewhere else at that point.
So
of time.
honestly, for the first time ever, I've just given up on looking at the playing 11 before making changes. I just make them the night before because of the dodgy VPN access I have.
Yeah.
So I'm
But
like, I'm not getting into the stress of the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, but if you think about it, you'll miss one maybe big player because of an injury. Otherwise, there's on average 1 change a game from the teams.
Yeah.
Sure, you'll have a Delhi where you've got Shaw and Akshar both out, but you're pretty much going to pick Warner. So anyway, my quick fantasy tip before we wrap up is that everyone is now picking the Butlers, Warners, and Rahuls. I would suggest make them vice captain, hedge your bets, pick somebody else as captain, rather than just pick captain. So that's my fantasy tip.
And I would say actually it depends on that fantasy tip depends really on where you are in the table. Because if you're up in the league, you should continue to pick the guys that are like UC Chahal took 3 wickets in that RR game. We didn't mention it. But if in an RR game, the natural fit is Josh Butler captain, UC Chahal vice captain. Because one guy's top of the batting league, the other guy's top of the bowling league. So
yeah,
it's a no-brainer for depending on where you are. But as you said, if you're trying to catch up or trying to make up, then you're probably better off hedging your bet with a vice captain and picking a different player completely and hoping and praying that a Butler or Chahal fails, right? That's the best part.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So guys, that is the show. It's always good to chat with you, Varun. I hope you get well soon. Thank you for doing this. Dedication and commitment shining through the screen. So it is amazing as always to listen, to talk to you, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to the show. As always, you can write into contact@onetiponehand.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at onetiponehand. And guys, leave us a review. Leave us an Apple review. Leave us a Spotify rating. The reviews get read out on the show. So if you like us, tell us what you like about it. And yeah, we will read out your review on the show. So go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. And we will be back next week with week 7 of the IPL, and it's going to get even more exciting going forward. I will probably be at the Brabant Stadium, so let's see whether we do the show before, after, or during the IPL game. That would be pretty cool, actually, managing to do it from the stadium itself. Let's see how that all works out. But this is the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast, and we will see you next week.